I am researching the sonic practices made by amateurs around the tape recorder in France and the UK. And so it's basically between the 50s and the 80s, and what these people were doing with the tape recorder, what kind of knowledge about listening and sound have they developed, and what were their work, like on the sound aspect of their work, and how can we see them and place them within the 20th century art landscape, in front of electronic music, in front of music concrète, in fluxus, etc. For my rep, because I am trained as a composer, and I wanted to, for my rep, to go outside my main subject of the PhD, and so to go back to something more musical. At the moment, I'm living between, I'm staying in the south of Brittany near Concarneau, and in Concarneau there is a marine station, which belongs to the National Museum, National History Museum in Paris. And so there's this, they have this research station to study all things related to the ocean, to the sea in Concarneau, which is a little city in the south of Brittany near the Atlantic Ocean. And because I'm living there, I have met people who work there, and especially a biologist who, and so we talked about what could be the possibilities to explore for this rep, because I was basically planning to do it locally due to the pandemic, and because he has a very creative view on part of his work, we started to talk about what could be the possibility to explore on a musical, on a sound aspect of his research. And he's really researching lichens and all the symbiotic processes that happens within lichens. And so basically it started to think about what could be the sounds of lichens. And from here, we moved toward sonification, so how to put in sound or in music all the analysis that he was making with the DNA of the different species of lichens. Because of the pandemic, in fact, because initially I was planning to do a placement scheme in Canada, and that was cancelled due to the pandemic. And so after I was searching for other solutions, more locally, to avoid any bad surprise, and because I knew Tony Robinet, the biologist, quite well, we started to speak about working together. And basically, it's what I just said before about the shape of the research project, like discussion about his research, about my interest in music, and an interest in sonification, like to take data that are not music and to put them in sound, or some kind of translation of data from whatever they are, and to translate them into sound, into music, to see if the data is impacted by the process, and to see if we can add another vision of his data, because basically all the genetical analysis is a giant spreadsheet with plenty, like more than 4,000 lines and dozens of columns. And what can we do with this if we translate this in sound? That was quite natural, because I am trained as a composer, and after my master degree, I've worked for a few times as an associate composer for different laboratories of music psychology. And so I was, it was quite natural, in fact, to do that steps. Even if when you arrive as a creative mind within a laboratory, which is more science oriented, there is a lot of constraints the ideas or the way you are working. But here it was quite the contrary, because it was like directly what could be a creative exploration of all the data that Tony had. So the constraints were much less present, in fact, in this work, and so it was quite natural to me to do that thing. And because Tony has a very creative mind in his work, he was very open also to plenty of ideas that I proposed. The project, so it was to work on the sonification and to put all this data in sound, and then the final step was to give this work back to the public. And we decided to do this in a concert form. And so for to organize all this data, because the first step was to translate, as I said, the data into sound, and then there is a compositional step to organize all these different sounds or sound matter, and to organize them into a musical form that can be give back to a public. And then to do this, we undertake a residency in Carmigny, which is a residence space in Brittany also. And so it lasted for a week, like to take all the sound matter, and because in 3 months there are quite a lot of things that have been done. And so to organize this in a short form of like 40 to 50 minutes, we did this residency. And here I decided also to invite a musician, an improviser, to also see what could be indirect during the concert, what this musician could do with exactly the same data, or the translation that I made from the data, and to have an overview on all this genetical analysis of the sound of this genetical analysis, and what could be the dialogue from a musician to all that I've done me through SuperCollider, which was the software I used to sonify all the data. And the concert went very well, and it was very nice because at the same time when we were in residency, there was also a dance company who was there, and so all the dancers, in fact, the concert was also organized. The public was lie down on the floor, and they were surrounded by speakers, like 4 speakers at each corner around the public, to have some kind of a very immersive aspect to the concert. And it was in the dark also to focus much more on the sound. And it was very nice because all of the dancers started to dance, in fact, to improvise a dance to what we were doing, and it was completely unexpected, and it worked very well. And because of this, we are now continuing to work together with that dance company. So we are quite happy of the results. And with a friend which is living in Marseille, in France, we have a label which is called Paravision, and so we are. I think it was like last Saturday on December 4, for the new moon that we have released the Lichen ADN, Lichen DNA album. That is like the results, and it's basically it is a recording of the concert, the album.